The Angry Chicken is proudly sponsored by DoghouseSystems.com. If you use our code TAC, you will get double memory on your next Doghouse Systems gaming rig. We thank DoghouseSystems.com for their support of The Angry Chicken.
Well met.
A podcast about Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft.
It's time for a little blood.
This is the Angry Chicken.
I hope you like my invention.
Tastingo! I'm gonna eat that! Reporting for duty.
Greetings and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the 19th episode of The Angry Chicken, a podcast about Hearthstone. I am Garrett Weinzerl, and I am joined, as I always am, by Willie Dills Gregory and Jocelyn Moffat. How you guys doing today?
Fantastic, but I think Dills is muted.
What are you talking about? This is how I talk.
He just likes to move his mouth and not actually say words, just to put us on.
I muted it so that I could sing along with the theme song, and then I forgot. So sorry about that.
He was testing our podcast reflexes to see how fast we could get in and fill dead air.
I was up until 9 a.m. All right, you guys, cut me some slack.
Oh, pumpkin.
I was working hard, testing Hearthstone.
Oh, you know, and that unfamiliar laugh you may hear laughing at Dill's awesome mute skills is our guest for today, joining us for the first time on the Angry Chicken, Chris Chan, better known to a lot of you as ChanmanV. Chris, welcome to the program.
Thanks, man. And you know what? Like when my co-hosts troll me, like that's the worst when they're mouthing. I've had people pretend that they were muted and like troll me, so I feel pretty terrible.
What is it about being the host of the show that just instills no respect in everyone else on the show? They're just like, all right, this guy is trying to move the conversation forward. We're going to pick on him.
Hey, your job's easy, you guys. That's why.
Exactly.
Yeah. We gotta give you
Me and
grief.
Jocelyn
We
have
can't
to
just play
look
along.
pretty, and you guys just have to put a show together. You know.
That's right. No, guys, but I appreciate you guys asking me to be on. I've been watching this show from whenever I get a chance to catch an episode, and you guys are doing a great job here.
Oh, thanks.
And
man.
excited to get a chance to talk Hearthstone with you tonight.
Huzzah!
Oh, yeah. I'm a big fan of Value Town for sure, and I really liked Deck Wars. That I
cool.
just watched. Yeah. You and Koyuki did a great job, I thought, casting that thing, and some interesting games. It's a cool format and everything. I really liked your layout, so good job with that, man. Looking forward to more of that.
No, I appreciate that, man. You guys know, given that you guys did the Invitational, but it's definitely a challenge getting all that video together. So I was pretty happy how it turned out, and hopefully this week will be pretty good too.
Who do you guys have playing this week? Are you guys going to do, like, is it not King of the Hill? Is it 2 new players every time?
No, it's just whatever I want to put together.
Oh, okay.
Just the flexibility.
Good way to do it.
Man.
Yeah.
UFC style, man. I can put whoever I want together, and it's going to be weekly. And this week we got Savitz and Reynad playing each other.
Oh, okay.
So it's like a 1v1 invitational that you put together once a week.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, that's awesome. Because then you can you keep it fresh. Whoever's the hot jam, if you can get them anyway.
And then it gives me the flexibility to showcase like somebody I want to showcase too. That's not very well known and that sort of thing. So works out pretty well.
That's awesome.
Well, these two guys are pretty well known. So far, you had some pretty well known players on there.
Yeah.
Gotta kick it off right. You know?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Gotta try.
It's funny because right now nobody really knows like what this is going to turn into. You know, the esports version of Hearthstone. But so like everybody who's doing it right now is kind of figuring out for themselves like how they want to do it and stuff like that. So I'm really glad to be like in on the ground floor, and I'm glad that people like you are doing it as well. It's really cool. The first one was. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was just gonna say I don't really look at like doing Deck Wars as more of like an esport thing as much as a community thing. Just like putting together big streamers and playing against like these top pros, or the pros that a lot of people view as the best players, and kind of seeing what happens, whenever you get them to playing each other, more so than figuring out the best player, and Deck Wars being a vessel for that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. But the esports thing, I totally agree. I'm totally interested to see how that's going to pan out for sure.
Yeah, we had the similar stuff going on in the early days of StarCraft 2. You had casters just casting games for the sake of getting the game out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you, Chris, you came from the StarCraft background as well.
No
right?
way. Chris, you don't do any shows about StarCraft, do you?
See, I don't. I don't know all these guys that you guys talk. You said I look like Machine. I'm like, okay, Machine. To me, that's a totally different thing.
Yeah.
He's not saying you look like a machine. It's something completely different.
So I've been doing StarCraft 2 for over 2 years now, and I know Garrett's been doing it probably just even longer than me, and it's a lot different. I mean, it was a great experience, or it's been a great experience doing StarCraft 2, and I still do it today with Unfiltered and Wednesday Night Sprites shows that I do each and every week. And Hearthstone though is like a completely different thing, and I don't know, Garrett. Like, I'm not sure if I forget how early StarCast started, but did you start like when StarCraft was like this? I mean,
the beta of Wings of Liberty, we were an audio only podcast only on iTunes. That's how we started, and then like I don't know, a year later we started doing Twitch. So we started pretty early on. We weren't following esports right away. I mean, we weren't even aware of it. We were just like, we really liked StarCraft just in general. So we started doing the show. So that was a hell of a learning experience.
But when StarCraft came along, though, like it was like, I mean, the original StarCraft 1. I mean, it was already like known that this would be kind of an esport, right? Because of like Warcraft and stuff and other RTSs at the time. Hearthstone is a little bit different, I think, because I don't know if there's really been. I mean, obviously Magic is huge and it's a big deal, but I don't think there's really been like a card game that kind of has this potential. To do what Hearthstone has. And
I think to compare Hearthstone to StarCraft, and like I think the major difference is just the accessibility. I don't think there's nearly as a big of a barrier to entry to get into Hearthstone and feel like you are competing at a fairly high level as compared to StarCraft, where it's just God. I sneezed and I lost.
Every time I watch StarCraft, it's like I'm watching like Tiger Woods or something. I'm like, I could never do any of this stuff. What they're doing, I could never do. But when I watch Hearthstone, I'm like, I could pull that off. I could play a leper gnome. I know how to do that.
That's right. I can pick my cards and put them down on it.
I can find out what they played on Fight Night last week and copy the deck.
Well, I mean, that's what's really interesting too. Is as soon as like Fight Night comes out, you hit the ladder that night, and everyone's playing Kuyuki Paladin. Like as soon as it happens, And so like that, there is like a lot of influence that is coming from these events, and it really is. Everything's going to get like really, really fine tuned after a while. Because of the prominent net decking and all that stuff, and the esports aspect of this game. So I'm really hoping that Blizzard like embraces this 100%.
Yeah, it's like a double-edged sword for me. This whole esports talk and how the game is designed, because I think what keeps it maybe from being an esport is really what makes it accessible to everybody. And one of the big topics right now is RNG and Nat Pagle and Tickmaster, and that I think those kind of cards make it more entertaining to play, and in some ways sometimes to watch too. But from a competitive standpoint, it makes it just like crazy, right? And and it really affects the kind of skill cap to the game. And so I think that's going to have to be figured out. Whether it plays out more like poker, or it plays out more like a League of Legends, StarCraft 2 type of thing. I think we're going to have to see, but right now it's definitely closer to poker than it is StarCraft.
A lot of people compare it to, it's like, it's just a coin flip. It's like coin flip the game or whatever. But no, it's poker. It's close to poker because, you have to know, like, first of all, you have to get a little lucky. And then you have to kind of predict what your opponent may have in their hand, get tells from them. There's a lot of, like, plays that make you understand, okay, he's got Flame Strike. Stuff like that, where managing those situations and recognizing them still makes the management of the RNG a super, like, it's a skill. I mean, it's tough. So I still think that the best players will consistently win. However, it forces it to be like best of 5, best of 7. Like, that's really the only format I think is going to work in its current state. But I agree. Like, I think if you take, like, so Artos is talking about we should take out Nat Pagle and Tink Master from tournaments. I think it would make the tournament boring to watch. Like, seeing what Tink Master does boring, is fun.
Yeah,
I think
well,
yeah,
not boring, but yeah.
I wouldn't want to see it in every tournament.
No.
I mean, it kind of. I mean, I'm going to try so hard not to bring StarCraft into every conversation tonight, but Chris, I feel like having you on is just
no,
like
go
osmosis.
for it, man. Yeah, you should. But, every time we talk about something, you should bring up StarCraft and Magic.
It happens. I can't help it. It's two other games I really enjoy. But I mean, in the early days of StarCraft, and when we had GSL and the other big tournaments that everyone was putting a lot of stock in and watching every night, it was really irritating that the ladder maps didn't reflect the maps that were being played in all of these tournaments. And that's the reason, like, I don't necessarily want to see the majority of tournaments cut cards that are available in ranked play in Hearthstone, because as a casual player, I would like my ranked play to at least somewhat mirror that of which I'm watching the pro players do.
Sure.
Yeah, I can see that argument.
Yeah. So I told you guys about the Mana Grind Limited tournament, though, right? Did I mention that last week?
I can't. We talked so much on and off stream. I can't remember
Yeah.
if you mentioned it on the show or not.
They just started a tournament where no epics and legendaries allowed, and it's kind of interesting because there's so much talk.
Mention that.
Yeah, I mentioned that. I think
Okay.
there's so much talk about this game being pay to win as well as being, RNG and all that. So they went ahead and just said, "All right, fine. You have no money. You have no epics and legendaries. Come and play this tournament." So it's actually kind of interesting.
Right,
I haven't played it.
They went a step further than what we were talking about, like maybe limiting legendaries to 1 or 2 or cutting them out completely. They went epics as well?
Yeah, no epics. Yeah.
So
you'll see no giants.
Those poor giants. What have they ever done to anybody?
Yeah, they're not in there. So it's basically like the War of the Yeti is what it is. It's just Yeti on Yeti.
Well, the
on
Yeti
Yeti.
I know,
first.
seriously.
you were saying,
Yeti
Chris?
becomes legendary all of a sudden. I mean, essentially. No, that's kind of cool. I mean, it's good to see. I totally get what you mean by the whole thing, Garrett. Where it's just like I'd like to, be able to play what I see, what I watch, and what's big and in this kind of esport thing. But it's kind of cool to see different formats too. Like whatever format you want to do. It's harder to do it in other games. So like with Hearthstone, it's nice to be able to. It's nice that it's easier to do, and you can just put limits and limitations on a lot of things.
Rules.
Yeah,
exactly. And this is all going to get figured out over time, and some format will rise to the top. Like Blizzard already kind of made the initial format with their BlizzCon tournament. That has kind of become somewhat the staple in a lot of these tournaments that you're seeing, where you play a deck, you throw it out if it loses, and that kind of stuff. But I played that Mana Grind tournament where it was basically just like unlimited side decking. It was crazy. Like I played a guy, he played Giants, so I just went and put in 2 Siphon Souls and 2 Big Game Hunters, and then just came back in and smashed him. So like I don't think that works either. So it's like, I don't know, all of this stuff, we're a long ways off from what's perfect, but I just think like when you watch poker on TV and when the guy's got like 2 aces and the other guy has like a 4% chance to win, and then that, on the river, he spikes the card that wins. That's what's exciting for people.
Yeah.
And Hearthstone has that aspect where it's like, oh, if he draws a true silver champion, he wins. Like that kind of stuff. Or if he gets the 5/5, he's going to lose. If he gets the 1/1, he can win. Like that kind of stuff is in the game in a big way. Or like, what's rag going to hit and stuff like that. So
that's pretty much the definition of accessible. It's like when anybody can beat anybody. Like the best player can lose to, honestly, the worst player in the world, just if it's the right day. And that's what makes it exciting.
Even Garrett beats me sometimes.
Oh, excuse you, Dills.
I totally thought that was coming back at me, but...
no, Jocelyn I expect to beat me.
No, Dills is just mad because I was testing out my Shaman deck against him the other night, and I schooled him.
I know, you smashed me pretty bad with that thing.
No.
But I was playing a Shaman deck last night because I really do think Shaman is coming back in a big way. And I was doing the smashing myself.
Did they ever really go away?
Kinda.
Been saying since
Well, you
day
started
one.
playing Hunter, and then everyone else started playing Hunter because they were like, "Well, if Garrett's doing it, then."
That's right. So you're the source of that.
It's all Garrett's fault.
Cancerous Hunter deck. No.
Well, now hold on though, ChanmanV. You started the Hunter thing. Really.
I was about to say.
All right.
You're to blame for all of this. Last night, the only decks that were beating me were the Hunters and the Rush Pallies with the Blessed Champion or whatever. like or
You mean the
Blessing of Might,
truck?
like
The truck ones, yeah.
yeah, and like that, those two decks are just so frustrating to play against because it doesn't really matter how you play. All that matters is did they draw the cards they need to do 30 damage to your face in like 6 turns. But so okay, let's talk real quick before we move on to the news because we do have to do that at some point.
I've been so hesitant to interrupt
know.
you, Dills. You seem to just be having a great old time at the top
To
of the
just
show
jump
tonight.
in. No, this is fun. So did you talk to somebody about that hunter deck because you won a really early tournament with the OTK hunter deck?
Oh, the
How did you
first-
come across that
That
one?
was the first TL Open, right?
Yeah, it was the first Steel Open. That deck, I kind of, I mean, I put together myself. I mean, there have been like slight variations on it, like maybe on the ladder, but you guys know nobody was playing Hunter back
Yeah.
then, right? So
We were all looking at it just
you know-
like, this is bad.
Yeah, this is crap.
right, exactly.
I can't do
right.
anything with this. Yeah.
And it started off to be, I guess what it started off actually to become what a lot of people ended up doing, which was very, very draw centric, and it was like full out combo. But then I just decided to tweak it a little bit more. Like after I did that, it just, I don't know, I just didn't feel that great. So I enjoyed the Hunter because it was my first class I played in the game, and I just wanted to play the kill commands, and the crushes and stuff like that. So I ended up tweaking it so that there were a little bit different win conditions, and it wasn't necessarily such a high condition for the OTK. But eventually, it kind of swung back to just this crazy card drawing OTK deck. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, just kind of put it together, and you just noticed that getting a bunch of really cheap units on the board and then Unleash the Hounds was kind of a cool combo, and that's what it became.
Yeah. It became insane.
It was a
I
very
don't know
early
if
episode
you
of this
heard
show
Garrett's
where,
rage.
where I
much
went
rage.
off.
Well, I mean, it's not that hard to stop, actually, but I think you need to have specific cards, though. So
Yeah.
I can see, like, with a budget, only, having budget decks, it could be really, really hard to stop.
It brought out the angry Magic fan in me. I was just like, give me one instant. Give me one damn instant, and this is out of the game.
Yeah. Well, the only way to stop. So basically, there was like a few ways. You had to have multiple taunts up. Is the issue
At the right time, too. You had to time
Yeah.
it right.
Yeah, you had to have multiple taunts up at the right time, or you had to finish them off before they could get to turn, whatever, 8 or 9, when they had enough mana to pull it off. But the other thing was if you were a hunter yourself, then you could just put up explosive trap, and it was just like forget it. But
Yep.
then they started running flares, and then so it's just like there was always a way through. It felt like for a while. So
Yeah,
it's
for a while,
interesting.
it was the answer to the mage.
Yeah,
it was,
that's right,
It was
yeah.
amazing.
And now everything answers mage, so who cares? But but it was interesting because that deck I think actually spawned changes in the game. So that's kind of a cool thing, right? Like to think that maybe you had something to do with that. Like
Yeah,
they nerfed
it
that
didn't
card.
make me happy at the
Stick around.
time.
Yeah,
but- yeah. I mean, I think it's pretty clear that charge OTK is definitely not something that they're a fan of at Blizzard.
No.
And we've kind of seen it with just some of the more recent nerfs, and I understand it, right? Just because Hearthstone is a turn by turn type of game, it's not something that you can that type of play you can't respond to.
Mhm.
And at a high level, I don't think it's an issue at all. In fact, I think it's kind of cool, having to, for instance, with a warrior, having to try and like keep them at 15 health before you actually kill them, or take them lower than that and doing that sort of thing. Back when
That deck was tricky though too because you try to do that and then like okay I gotta amass 15 damage in one turn here.
Yeah,
And then they would just brawl all your damage off the board anyway.
Yeah.
Like, oh, screw
Yeah.
you.
Or they'd equip weapons and run themselves into your minions to bring themselves
yeah.
below
Yeah.
15.
that was
and
usually
you had
the
no
answer.
control over that.
Yeah.
But it's kind of fun. That was definitely different scenarios. You'd run into, and
Yeah.
it's kind of fun to have those. But
Well, that's
in
been
general, can't blame them
Yeah.
for removing that.
that's been one of the coolest parts about being at the ground floor of Hearthstone kind of launching is just seeing all this craziness be figured out.
Yeah.
So.
Now, what do you think about balance as it currently stands? Because I've heard a lot of people say this, and I tend to agree. I think it's actually at its most balanced it's been. I know like Mage and Priest right now feel pretty weak on the ladder, but still seems better than it was. I don't feel like I know Druid is really good, but I don't feel like Druid is what Mage was. So what do you think, Chanman? Do you think it's as balanced as it's ever been, or is there still something wrong?
Yeah, I think it's as balanced as it's ever been. I don't think it's like completely balanced. Those two classes in particular. I think the mage is actually not as bad as everybody thinks it is. I think it's just everybody still has certain archetypes of the mage stuck in their heads. So
I
we just
lost
haven't
to a
seen.
frost mage the other day. I've
Yeah.
never been so mad.
Well, it's funny because the freeze mage isn't terrible right now.
No,
given
it's
the
just
current
not
meta
as
game.
they just can't like start locking you out as early as they previously could. But it is actually still a viable strategy. I'm surprised
Yeah.
we don't see more of it.
Especially because things like, I mean, just kind of going down this, it's just because like things like the druid, right, which is really popular, they don't threaten you in the first 4 rounds. So
Right.
I mean, unless they have innervate, right? But if they don't, then it's like there's no difference than really just moving your mana curve like 2 mana to where all the freeze spells are again, and then where your pyro is too. So it's not as good as it was before, but it's not nearly as bad as people think too.
Yeah.
The priest is I think a little bit better too than a lot of people think. Is it on like even close to mid tier, high tier? I don't think so. I still think it's one of the worst classes.
Yeah.
But everything else is good. I mean, druid, shaman, really really strong right now. Warrior, I think it's really fun to play and has a lot of viability. Hunter, has kind of that aggro and even
Yeah,
some
it
control
has.
things going
There's
for it.
some control decks popping up, but
Yeah.
I've talked about this on the show. I think the problem with Hunter is the hero ability just kind of pigeonholes it into
Yeah.
being a rush deck. So
Well, I was having a discussion with, I think, Kayuki about this, and it was interesting because he was talking about the hero power, which you would think, does pigeonhole it to a very aggressive type of style. He was saying that it actually endorses control style because, for 2 mana, you're guaranteed to do 2 damage without a card.
sure.
So you can actually play more of a control style where you're just, holding your cards or whatever you want to do, and you can still work them down, and that's kind of an interesting way to think about it. I didn't really think about it like that.
That's what
Yeah.
I enjoyed so much about Yang Wu's like secret based hunter deck was that it was very much a control style deck, but because of the hero power, it balanced it out and to let you got to still keep up with the game while controlling the board.
I think the problem though is that basically priest and warrior just outright counter your hero power with their hero power. So if that's the strategy, you end up kind of falling behind.
Well, that's why
against
you throw the
classes.
eagle horn bow in there and you're doing 5 damage every turn instead of just 2.
That's true. But at the same time, I mean, they're using 2 mana to negate your damage too. So it's kind of
exactly.
give and take, in that scenario.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to answer your question, I think balance right now is quite good. I think there's still a lot to discover. So I don't think we're even. I don't even. Maybe we're halfway there. I guess maybe discovering the current cards.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot to be figured out. And what's cool about the changes is that it just forces people to get creative again, and that's the thing I like the most. Like I don't really love this whole net decking thing, and it was a similar in StarCraft 2, just people copying people's builds. But in StarCraft 2, you have the skill level mechanics, right? Like the mechanics are such a huge part of StarCraft 2. So I could go and copy Jaedong's build and never be able to pull off what he pulls off.
Yeah.
But with Hearthstone, there is some mechanics to like the higher level players, but it's not nearly as big, you know what I mean? Where it's just like there's no way I would beat Jaedong. Where it's like I could probably beat some of the top players, right now.
Yeah.
Because
I
can
bet
copy
you
their-
have beat some of them. I mean,
yeah.
you end up playing them on the ladder and stuff. So,
Not
but yeah, I
this
mean,
season.
the mechanics there come down to like Nimsh draws the card he needs every time. Like that's like you can't aim Ragnaros, right? So, like there's it's
Well,
it
the
really
mechanics
comes down to
meaning like
math
fundamental play.
skills and figuring it out. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely true. Do you think there are any cards right now that need to be changed, or do you think we're like ready?
Oh, I think it's funny because everybody's talking about Napagal and Tinkmaster in regards to RNG, and I'm just like, guys, Blizzard's already made it very clear with Eric Dodds and Ben saying that they want to get rid of cards that are in every deck, and those cards are in every deck. So we should talk about that, and it's going to be changing. So making a big deal out of Tink and Napagal, I don't think is that necessary because those cards are going to change, like for sure. Those cards are going to change.
Well, what do you think they could do to those cards?
I think
Nat, I think you could just make him 1 less health.
Yeah.
And Tink, I think a 3/3 maybe, like maybe a consistent 3/3 or something a little bit less crazy.
I was thinking like 2/2 or 4/4 because then you just like lower the amount that it sucks if it's one or the other. Basically, it still
that could
has the
work too.
variance, but it's there's still something to it. But yeah, I mean a 3/3 also similar idea. Basically, it's just like it's like a creature that also polymorphs in a weaker way. I think that
But
would
should
be
a
okay.
squirrel be more powerful than a sheep, guys? That's the hard question we're not asking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, those
Those
sheep are
acorns
pretty
are deadly.
powerful.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Have you ever like been in a park and a squirrel just like comes at you aggressively? I mean, it's scary, man. You got to be careful.
What the hell kind of weird mutant squirrels do you have down there?
I guess you have Canadian squirrels that are very polite and
Exactly.
stay
They
out of
never
your way.
come at my face.
Yeah, exactly.
Gills is really close to Oakland. They get in the sewers
I got them
there.
Oakland squirrels, dude. You gotta watch that.
That's right. That's right. No, I
Awesome.
mean cards. Any other cards? Oh, just the big game hunter cards and the Black Knight cards. I'm not a fan of those cards
Oh,
either.
really? Okay.
They're huge swing cards, and
Yeah.
I don't know. Those
They
are
make-
kind of
they
along.
make certain cards unplayable. Like I agree. Like they really made the Earth Elemental and Ancient of War like gone. Like you just don't see them because of
Yeah.
how big of a swing it is when it gets Black Knighted. So.
That's why
Oh, I
Ancestral
mean,
Spirit's so
that's-
popular right now.
Mhm.
I mean, and Black Knight is a little bit. The big game hunter. At least there's a very specific scenario with big game hunter. Like you have to have health or just damage that's just enormous, right? This is a big legendary unit or just a big unit like a giant or something. With the Black Knight, I mean, you're literally punishing taunt,
Yeah.
and taunt is everywhere. So it's like what? That's kind of a crazy powerful card that I think doesn't require very much skill. And I'm not a fan of cards that just don't require much setup or even just that much decision making. And
Yeah.
I think that's one of those cards for sure. So
Yeah.
I'm much less fan of a Black Knight than Big Game Hunter. But the
I
design
agree
of-
with that stuff. I think if they want the game to be like kind of a boxing match, then cards like that just are just uppercuts basically are a little bit overpowered when they actually do hit and do the thing and that in itself makes RNG because who draws? It's like with a mage, it was like it used to be like who draws Ice Block and Pyroblast, and that's who's going to win if you were in like a mirror match. So I think you make a good point there, man.
Yeah, it affects meta in a weird way too, because it's the discussion with Shaman, for instance, and talking about like Earth Ellie. Well, yeah, Earth Ellie, the Earth Ellie Shaman is good when Black Knight's just not in the meta, which it kind of isn't in the meta right now, quite honestly.
Yeah.
But then so then the meta will change for like 2 weeks, and then Black Knight will come back, and I don't
That's
know.
a seesaw
that kind of
effect.
that kind of changes, not very
Yeah,
healthy, I
if
guess, for the
one
game.
card is just like affecting everything, then there's probably an issue there. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jocelyn, what do you think, man? What are some cards that you don't like? Haven't had
Oh
a chance
man,
to hear.
dude. Well, I mean, we've talked about it before. And I know that they have to be in there, and I know that they have to be really good, but the legendaries they make me cry every single time
You
because I just
Hearthstone
don't
hippie.
have them.
yeah.
Oh, you don't have. Okay, that's the worst.
Yeah.
There's a couple
even
I
have
do, and there's a couple I play, but even the ones that I have, I mean, I have Hogger, which I run like all the time just to help with the taunt because he's the one I have. So that one and Ysera are in like every deck. So
That's actually an interesting
Sarah's
little.
awesome.
It's an interesting kind of thing that happens. So like when I was playing, every time they reset the ranks and you start over again, I was playing and I would see like, I'd see like Onyxia and stuff, and then you like forget when you bought a bunch of packs and you played a bunch of Hearthstone, like that. If all you have is Onyxia, like that goes in every deck,
exactly, yeah.
So that does also create like an interesting weird dynamic where you feel like you can't win. And I understand why people say like the pay to win thing is annoying.
Well, and I'm not saying it's pay to win. I've always been a very staunch supporter of, Blizzard does balance, and like you can owl a legendary and get rid of all the effects and everything else. Like there are cards that can counter, but at the same time, like it's just they're so good when you pull them and you play them, and it never happens to me. It's always people playing them against me, and especially when you get into those matches where they seem to have like half their deck is legendary, and so it's like turn 2 there's something, turn 4, turn 5, turn 7. You're just like, God damn it! I only have so much silence.
Faceless Manipulator, Big Game Hunter. Come on. If you
Yeah.
Well, but again, like all these things,
if you
are
don't have
things
them,
that you
take them
to-
from them.
But those are all things that you have to craft or pull or there's still that little bit of barrier there.
Yeah, those
so
are both epics.
sometimes
So.
that's frustrating.
Maybe they should. I haven't really thought about it until like just now, but maybe there should be some type of value rating to your deck. And, like legendaries would be, I don't know, 10. Let's just say, making up something, 10. Epics would be 8, and rares 5, whatever. Just kind of working your way down. And, maybe they have the ladder filtered or divided in a way so that, people with, say, like people that only have like a 30 value deck can go and play against other people that have 30 value deck, and that sort of thing.
I think there's room for a
that's
lot
what
of
they do.
cool formats in this game eventually where I was thinking about this the other day, it'd be really cool if there was just like an arena tournament where you could just invite people and then everyone drafted arena decks and then they played a tournament. There's all sorts of like little weird things that Blizzard could add over time. Who does do this a little bit is I think it's Hearthhead or Hearthpwn or somebody where they put in, I think it's Hearthpwn, they put in the dust cost of if you were to build this deck.
Oh, cool.
Let me see if it's in Hearthstone.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I was looking up some deck the other day.
Hearthhead just put in a new feature recently, I think, where you could actually enter your collection and then it would show you, like, suggest decks based on cards you already have.
Oh, really?
Oh, that's really
Yeah.
cool.
Really? Wow.
That's cool.
Nice.
Especially if you're
I
new to the
think
game.
I think that only came out this last week.
Oh, yeah. So Hearthstone, it's right here, it says crafting cost. So, I look at this deck and it says crafting cost is 3480 dust. So, that's right there.
Yeah, that's pretty much
simplest
the
way you
value.
could break
Yes.
it down. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you did it in the game, though, then if you threw golds in there, you'd totally skew it.
Oh, yeah. But, the golds wouldn't really matter.
Right.
That'd be
Sure.
interesting. All right, we should get to the news, man. We've
Yes,
been 40 minutes now. All we've done is just
Yeah.
chat it up, which is fine, but
waiting for you to reach a natural endpoint. It never came, man.
I know. I'm
It
sorry.
never came.
made
You
that hard
gotta
for
you gotta
there.
cut Dills off. You gotta end
Good
up-
news, everyone!
So, this
Well done.
past Wednesday, instead of Throwback Thursday, Blizzard saw fit to give us a Throwback Wednesday unintentionally and revert cards to the pre-patch values, which I was really excited about because it made the tournament that we did last weekend all of a sudden relevant
Suddenly
again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I turned on Hearthstone and I was like, WTF, how old is this? That was pretty interesting.
I thought we might get a week without that joke, but no.
Nope,
Here to
nope,
stay.
not going to happen.
Here to stay.
Hey, when that's the only complaint, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically it was like 8 mana pyros again, and all the Shattered Sin Cleric was a 3/3. But I don't. Did you guys actually experience this bug?
I did not get to play that
I
day at
missed it,
all. I
actually.
Okay.
saw the explosion on Twitter.
Yeah.
It was
People
really
were tweeting
fun
at
to
me
read.
like I could fix it or something. I was like, guys,
Don't you build
I
Hearthstone
can't-
Dills? Because that's what I thought.
I was like, I can't do anything about this. I'm sorry. I'm at work.
So
but yeah,
was it affecting both sides, or was it just like one person within the match? Because that would be like
oh my god.
insane.
No. I think it was everybody. Like,
Oh, okay.
everybody.
That'd be so great if one person had a 5 mana Sylvanas and the other had a 6.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
But so it was showing up. Like I don't know if when you play like a card that like lowers the mana cost of something, the mana is in green instead of white. So it was actually doing that. So basically the cards were like buffed to their old values. So if you looked, like it said 5 mana and that was in green lettering.
Oh, that's
That's weird.
really strange.
Okay.
So I don't know how, I'm not a programmer. I don't know how this type of thing could happen, but it was very, very bizarre. And it was fixed.
Somebody put a
pretty
period where there shouldn't have been one.
Exactly.
We always made that joke in WoW anytime it was a patch. It's like, well, you could change this zone in Azeroth and all of a sudden Elix are floating in the ground for no reason.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah. I was sure like all the engineers are like listening to us and going like, it's so obvious why this happened. Right? Syntax, man, come on. Yeah, but
Right.
to me it's all magic. I don't know. I don't even know how magnets work. So, but I really wish I had gotten a chance just to play for like an hour with some of the old stuff. Just it was like the nostalgia of it. It's like, oh,
Yeah, I
look at
could
this
have
defender Argus.
pulled out the Warrior OTK on somebody again.
Yeah, gone back
would've
to your
been
old
fun.
Hunter deck, dude. That would have been interesting.
It's
Although
not
I don't
that
know.
many patches back.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what happened. I think it was just Unleash the Hounds went back to 4 mana or something. So it only went back like.
It wasn't the fun change.
No, that would be interesting though too. Like, what if Blizzard was just like, all right, on the anniversary of Hearthstone, we're just gonna turn it back the clock, and everything's going back to like rogues are insanely powerful again. That would be.
That was so many patches ago.
That was the beginning of the game ago.
Yeah.
Druids can cast all spells at your face. Like again.
Oh gosh, that would be like incredible right now. Honestly.
I know, right? Imagine if Starfall could still go to your face like that. That was
Oh,
Starfall, yeah, everything.
That'd make them the red
Wrath good too. So.
Yep. Well, according to every chat room on Twitch, though, Wrath definitely can hit you in the face. Just you always have legal. That's why.
Legal or lethal?
Legal.
Legal. Yeah.
Also this week on the Hearthstone Reddit, 86com posted a really cool post showing 9 cards that would never made it to beta in Hearthstone. He's got all of the info of the 9 cards here, as well as links to what their art looked like. And there's some really interesting cards in here, like this very first one, Adrenaline Rush. It's a rogue spell that cost 1 mana, and it drew you a card. But if you comboed it, you got 2 cards, which, damn, jeez. I want this card.
No, Garrett, you can't have this card.
But I want it.
It seems really powerful, but think about what Peggle does sometimes. When Peggle draws you 4 cards for 2 mana, it's like, okay, this isn't so bad.
Over 4 turns,
sure,
in a perfect scenario.
But still, like I don't know. This, I agree that this is overpowered, but I think in today's world, I don't know how overpowered it really would be. It would be. It's cycles, but.
Have you not watched the Miracle Rogue?
I guess that's true.
Gadget Zan into Adrenaline Rush to get 3 cards.
That would be pretty sick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be pretty sick.
You could draw 10 cards in a turn, basically.
Yeah. Well, you could do that now. I mean,
or you could just.
I know. Imagine that. You get 2 more.
Every rogue would just deck themselves though.
You
before
had
they
2...
even win.
If you had 2 of these in your hand and you played both, even if you played one to combo in the other, and then you got your Van Cleef, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. I was playing with the Miracle Rogue the other night, and basically the reason it's so good is the fact that you always get to your Leroy Shadow Step combo because you draw your entire deck in 7 turns. Like I decked myself twice with it. Both times won though because I had the Leroy Coldblood Shadow Step Leroy Coldblood. But yeah, it's pretty sick.
I had to.
All right, good point. Good point. I take it back.
I had to Rock Fighter weapon one of my 2 Mana Tide totems that were on the board today because the guy didn't kill it, and I was gonna start decking myself.
Oh yeah.
I think there's nothing worse than that Miracle deck than when you have. It's the only deck that I found where you actually have to be careful about drawing cards when you have a decent number of cards left in your deck, because if your Gadgetzan stays on the board, you're just screwed.
Yeah.
Because everything that you have is a spell.
Yeah.
So it's really, really tough, and that's one of the management or the things about the Miracle Rogue is the card management. It's crazy.
Yeah. The skill of playing that deck is realizing how much burn you can spend on minions and how much you have to save for their face too, as well as managing the cards. So it's actually a really tricky deck to play, but when it happens, when it all happens, it's really fun.
Yeah, it definitely is.
That was one of the first decks I actually created. I think I made a video with Scott. I was calling it the Broken Rogue deck though back then, and this was like original patch, so that's when it was even crazier because like Shiv was 1 mana. Everything was just sick in that deck.
It was the unbeatable rogue, and you had the Defius ringleaders that were you could not deal with them.
Oh yeah, the 2/3s,
turn 1.
Which those aren't even in this deck now. There's no room for that.
Right.
You need spells. You need all the spells.
Yeah, absolutely. So go check this out. The other, I think, the more interesting thing in here is the showing cards that previously existed and then what they were replaced with.
Well, some of these don't even seem like what they got replaced with has anything to do with this card. And so, like the Dark Summoner, first minion you play each turn costs 3 less, is basically like a pint-sized summoner on crack. It's the pint-sized summoner's big uncle. replaced with Spiteful Smith. What?
Yeah. Well,
like, are you
the
sure
thing
about
with
that?
With the hunter replaced with the high main? What?
Doesn't really do the
2
same
with
thing at all.
+1/+1 is a high main? No.
Yeah, the Darkspear Hunter pretty much worked like a targetable sort of justice, but
Yeah,
it only
pretty
works on
much.
beasts.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, whenever you play a beast, the beast. Well, it's also a creature on board, and it's 2 for 2. I don't know. It seems like an okay card.
It's well costed with a cool effect. Bring it on.
Yeah, put that back in the game. Come on.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Now I wonder if some of
Kinda.
these cards are still kind of on the up on the drawing board for Blizzard, because they are coming out with a bunch of new cards pretty soon at some point. Well, not soon, but the 20 to 30 with the adventures and stuff.
Yeah.
So we might see a reworked version of some of these cards.
Yeah.
And I'd be
I'd
excited
like to
for some-
see. I'd like to see Greater Heal in some fashion come back.
Yeah.
Priest. You're. I think the first reaction is that Priest has plenty of heals right now, but it actually doesn't.
No, it has its hero ability, and it has.
I mean, Paladin has more of a healer than a Priest is, actually.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it'd be nice if there was one good one.
Yeah, I think.
But can you
Fate could
imagine,
be
like, if
cool,
you paired
too.
that with the Soul Priest, and then all of a sudden that's like 2 damage for every card in your opponent's hand? Like, that would be insane.
Oh yeah, it shouldn't be that. I mean, it definitely shouldn't.
Unless
That
your
would be
opponent's
bad.
overextending,
heals.
but yeah.
You have Artosis going crazy about, oh my god, my Valen and my Greater Heal is like amazing.
Yeah, so you just basically you'd play Cold Light Oracle or whatever to force your opponent to draw 2 cards, and then you would just hit them for
Yeah.
sick amounts of damage. Yeah, that'd be kind of
That's
interesting.
exactly what you would do.
Yeah.
Awesome. We'll
Too bad
have,
you don't have naturalized. Then you just if that was in a druid deck. Oh man, have you guys tried out milling decks? I was playing one the other day. It's that's not good.
they're
but
really not. There's not enough cards to, I think, really support that archetype in this game yet.
yeah, but because there's only 30 cards in a person's deck, it's actually not that many cards you have to get them to go through.
Yeah.
If you run into an aggro deck, you're screwed though.
Well, yeah,
I mean, it's just like it has to be a control deck that you run into.
And
yeah,
it's
pretty
like-
much.
Yeah, with the prevalence of aggressive decks in this game, it's just,
I
oh
know.
man, I would never
It's
take
like,
that thing into ranked ever.
No, it not in this current situation. It won't happen. But it's really fun to play on casual, which
Yeah.
sometimes I just go in casual. I just pull out some pirates, just mess around for a little while.
This game is serious business, sir.
As long
We
as you're
never
playing
have
with
fun.
pirates and not
Pull out my
Murlocs.
pirates. Yep. Jocelyn knows what I'm talking about.
If you missed this post, you can go to amove.tv/TAC and see it in the show notes. Let's move on to strategies.
Hit it very hard.
Wanna blow something up? Time to pay!
So for strategies this week, Dilge, you wanted to talk about stats and how they're
Yeah.
fun to keep, and I want you to talk about that because I think it's boring and I cannot be bothered to do it.
Oh man,
All right.
here comes Grouchy Garrett here to tell everybody why stats are stupid.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah, you damn kids and your stats. Well, okay, if anybody grew up like me collecting baseball cards, then you probably are into stats. For me, they're just really interesting because I like to look at specific decks. How did this deck do? How did that deck do? And a lot of people have asked me about like what site to use and stuff like that. So I thought it'd be good to just kind of address it on the show once and for all. Then they can just stop asking me what site to go to. No, I'm just kidding. Yes,
This is definitive. You will
Yeah.
never change your mind on this.
I'm never going to talk about this again. But anyway, I mean, it's good to keep track of how you're doing in Arena. It's kind of just for fun, and some streamers really like to tout their prowess in the Arena. At this point, I care less about how my stats are in Arena. I kind of know okay, I can win enough that I probably don't have to pay for Arena anymore. That's all I really needed to know. But in Constructed, it's actually I found a lot of value in it because I thought that this deck was really good, this Druid deck, but apparently I suck at Druid, so I need to concentrate on Shaman. That's the kind of stuff that you can really get. And I want to throw some support. We talked about Arena Mastery on the show, but Hearthstats.net is a really good site as well. And unfortunately, it seems like the link isn't working. I put it in here, but I don't know. Maybe it's just down for the moment.
Yeah, I tried it
it's-
too, man. It didn't work.
Yeah, it's
in Twitch or where? Oh,
no, yeah, on Hearthstats they have like a web app or a little piece of software, and if you download that, it'll actually automatically keep your stats for you, so you don't have to actually go to the site and type anything in. Basically, it just as soon as you like start a game, it reads the opponent's name, it reads what deck you used, it tells if you went first or second, and it just puts all of it in. I was using it last night, and it was pretty good. So.
Do you have to sign in or sign up or something in order to get it to work? Maybe that's
Yes.
why the link's broken.
No, that shouldn't be why, because that's different. Like it's a piece of software that downloads. So anyway, I'm going to contact the guys and we'll see what's going on. But I do think that it needs to be more obvious. It's a beta though too. It needs to be more obvious on the site where this is, because they actually tweeted it at me. I had no idea this existed.
Oh.
And one of the guys tweeted it at me, and I was like, oh, cool. And then I tried it out, and it's actually really awesome, because that was the hardest thing about stats, was the tediousness of putting them in a spreadsheet, right? Like all that stuff. That sucked. And I don't ever want to do it anymore. So, Chanman, you said you don't really keep stats, do you?
No, I don't really keep stats these days.
Yeah. Did you ever? Like, did you have like a spreadsheet or anything?
I did it for a little bit, but
Yeah.
honestly, it's just too tedious to keep
Yeah.
doing it.
Like when you're
And,
playing a game, you just want to play, right? Like I don't want to be sitting here
Yeah.
figuring everything out. So,
And I played mostly constructed, and
Sure.
for me, it was just I don't know. It's just like I would only be playing one deck anyways,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of interesting to see how I do against certain decks, but I don't know. I think generally I just at least have a high level understanding of what this deck is good against and what it's bad against, and that was usually sufficient for me. But I could definitely see having all the information being quite useful and maybe
Yeah.
tweaking based on that.
yeah.
So, Dills,
So-
do you find that when you keep your stats, are you actually like changing what decks you're using if you see that you're losing a lot? Is that a
Well-
feeling that you just get and you don't need your stats? Like, how does that actually factor into what deck you're playing with?
You need a large enough sample size to really understand, but like I didn't realize that my Druid deck was like below 50% win rate. And that's weird because Druid's supposed to be really good, right? But it didn't feel like I was losing that many games. It felt to me like over a course, because the way I play on the ladder, generally,
Okay.
I'll play one deck, and then I'll swap if I feel like it's not doing so well. Like at some point, I'll just kind of like, oh, maybe the meta shifted briefly. I'm running into nothing but control warlock. I'll switch to my deck that has a little bit more, ability to deal with that. So then I can look back now and I can see like, oh, the shaman I'm actually doing the best. Okay. Oh, with warlock I'm second best. Okay. So like this stuff is interesting to me, and I think based on people asking me, it's interesting to a lot of our listeners as well. So that's I think one of your biggest things that you're going to get out of this website is just you can do things like A/B tests. So Watchers Druid versus like the more like the non-Watchers Druid, because the Watchers Druid is somewhat popular now, but I actually prefer the other version. But I don't know which one actually works better. So you can try out
The
both.
Strife Crow? Strife Crow?
Yeah,
version,
the
or-
Strife
okay.
Crow Watchers, and then there's the old Strife Crow deck. It didn't, right?
Well, I don't think Strife had Watchers. I think who was running the Watcher deck? I think
He has a version that
AP.
does have Watchers now.
yeah now, but
Yeah.
I think he kind of adjusted that based on somebody else's deck. I can't remember whose it was though.
That basically
I rem-
is if you're running into tons and tons of aggro, that's why that deck is good. But for me, I don't know. I don't really like it. But I needed to test out both styles really to see
Yeah,
which one's actually doing better too.
definitely.
But also,
stylistically, yeah.
yeah. Also, I just think stats are fun to nerd out too. I like to just kind of sit and pore over them. You can see things on this site like your stats in the last 30 days, last 90 days, last 7 days. So after you've actually played for a while and used the site, you'll actually have more of a complete list. So I think this is good work, and they should definitely continue improving on it. And I just wanted to give them a shout out and talk briefly about them. So everybody who's into the stats and you want to keep track of them, go check out hearthstats.net, as well as arenamastery.com. They're also really good too. So that's it. That's all I have, man.
Awesome.
We're not
This
going
is
to
the
pour
shout-out
over.
version of the part of the show.
We're not going to pour over everything. in strategy this week.
It's it's definitely a good tool. I've used it a little bit, and I know a lot of people that use it, so it's definitely try it out.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's down just briefly, or if there's something wrong with that Windows app, but they do have a way for it to just work automatically. So I'll try to tweet that out as well to people at some point if I can figure out what's going on.
We'll figure out. If you're listening to this on iTunes or Stitcher or whatever the day after we posted it, it may not be on the show notes just yet, but we'll make sure to get it in there.
Yeah, and they do have the site has like a help section and all that stuff, and they've been pretty vocal like with me on Twitter. So there's real people behind there doing stuff. You can talk to them and find out what you need to do.
As opposed to all the machines.
Well, have you ever been to a site and you're like, there's no real people behind this site? Like this is some database stuff that happened a long time ago and now it's still here, but nothing's actually happening.
Some GeoCities just went self-aware and started creating its own websites. Just left them there in the ether. Oh, wonderful. Well, thanks for that, Dills. We'll definitely make sure to get these links in the show notes. As we do on weeks when we have guests or too many topics to talk about, we're going to skip Crazy Game Stories because we're running out of time. We're going to go straight to
out of here.
We're going to take your guys' emails.
Hello?
Hello, it's me.
Hello?
Just quickly, do you get my message?
Yep.
Oh.
Hello, brother.
You can send those emails to tacpodcast@gmail.com. Our first email today comes for us from Chillin. Chillin? I can never pronounce anyone's name on the show. It says, "Hi all, I'm starting to learn about all the decks and what I like to play, and I'd like your advice on how to quickly tell what kind of deck I'm playing against. Control versus aggro mage, etc. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Thanks." Okay.
Oh, it's pronounced Savage.
I saw that at the end. That's great. Which apparently is also the wrong way to pronounce his name.
Really? No,
Yes.
no, that's how he says
It's
it.
supposed to be a TS on the end.
Artosis still
Nope.
says savages all the time.
Oh,
so I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Whatever the case is, there's not enough letters at the end of his handle to actually make the sounds that he.
So many consonants you never see
there's-
together.
Nobody has a J and a Z next except for one guy named Jay-Z, and that's it.
And that's spelled
So we're just going to call him
J-A-Y
Sav Jay-Z
dash
now?
Z.
Yeah, Sad
Yes,
Jay-Z.
Jay-Z.
That's not how he spells it, but okay.
So when you're trying to figure out what kind of deck you're playing against, you need to know what decks are common first. Like that's like it has to be your starting place. So when you see a Warlock, when you see a Warlock, you have no idea. Could be because there's just a few really popular. There's the aggro. There's the Murlocs. There's the control giants. Sorry, I had a
Handlock, yeah.
Yeah, I had a brief moment of trepidation just saying the word Murlocs now. I just hate them so
You're
much.
just abused
right
at this
off.
point. You're like you're experiencing post-traumatic stress after so many.
Post Murloc stress
destroyed
syndrome.
by so many
Real
Murlocs.
thing. Yeah. So you need to know, like, in your head at the beginning of the game, which possibilities are out there, and then you basically just wait for them to play something, and then, I mean, there's really that's the only way you can find out. So if it is the hand lock, they will often life tap on turn 1 and 2, turn 2.
Let's say. Are
They don't
cheating?
usually coin life tap, but
No, they won't. They won't coin like that.
but they'll life tap as their first move, and then you go, okay, here comes giants. Here comes Watchers, Giants, Twilight Drakes, all that stuff. If they McGurgle Gurgle on turn 1, then it's Warlocks, obviously. And if you see something like Void Walker or like an Argent Squire or something like that on turn 1, then it's probably the aggro. But you don't see that as much. I don't know if you guys are experiencing that as well.
No, the aggro lock, Curious lock is pretty much gone at this point. But
I was actually running it last night, but a newer version of it that I just kind of tweaked myself, and it was doing pretty well. Yeah, like I have like a lot of that early stuff, but then I also have like Cairn and some other like bigger cards too. So basically, the whole point is to like gain board control early, gain tempo early, and then actually have enough beef to finish them off. So
yeah.
kind of interesting.
You put Cairn in a deck? Wow, man, way to break the mold.
I'm just trying to shift the meta, dude. You know, I'm just trying to shift the meta.
One
man.
card at a time.
Rebel without
That's
a
right.
I'm the only one
goddamn
playing Karen. I don't know
cause.
if you guys know this, but
Yet another
I
card
came
that's
up with-
almost in every deck.
yeah, I know. I came up with that card actually. I invented it.
Last week, Dills, you said you had a new F the meta deck and you were running a priest. You said you were going to keep playing that until you hit a wall on ranked. Did you hit that wall? And what rank did you end up
really.
at?
I didn't really hit a wall with it, but I definitely it won a lot until about like 9, and then from like 9 to 5 I was just playing shaman because the priest deck just wasn't. I don't know. I don't know if you guys like. For me, it seems like that's where all the aggro is. It's like 9 to 5, and then all of a sudden, then you get to 5, and then it's like the control starts to happen. But it just wasn't working. It wasn't strong enough against like the aggro hunter and stuff like that. So
the
I don't know.
The priest is a deck that's hard to build a versatile version of it so that it beats both at a reasonable percentage.
Yeah.
So I think I'm kind of going through the same thing. It's like I think I've gotten like this priest. Like I've only been playing priest, right? And I think I've gotten it up to like 8 at best or something, and then you run into something completely different. And I think the priest is probably one of those decks where you literally have to change it completely once you get to a certain point, and having to navigate that is a little bit weird because it's actually easy to build one that kills aggro. It's just it's going to get stomped by every single control deck.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah,
I mean, mine is really fun to play. It's really fun to play, but I
love it too. Yeah.
It's just it sucks when you lose like 3 games in a row and you're just like, okay, well, so I guess I need to change it. Then you change it, you queue up again, and it's like, oh, now it's control. Okay, now I'm screwed. Like, okay, never mind.
I really gravitated to the priest in the early days because I really enjoyed the white color in Magic, and it shares a lot of the same properties with healing and mind control and stuff like that. And I've just been so disappointed in it lately.
Yeah.
No,
Sith Lord Bane just asked the question, would it be smart to put a couple Murlocs in your deck to throw someone off and then play like Handlock? No, I don't think that would be very good.
You kind of F up your tempo.
The problem with doing that is that you basically take the toolbox away from your deck. There's only 30 cards that can fit in your deck. So to like juke somebody means that you took like one of your 30 cards just as your juke card and you lost those 2 slots or whatever. So I don't think that would be interesting to see somebody actually really give that a shot though, in like a tournament or something. Try to like juke somebody and make them think it's the wrong.
Well, that was the kind of the little end comment I was going to add to answer Talen's question here, which is also sometimes you might just see someone play a Raptor and you're just playing against someone who's playing with whatever they happen to have, and there's really not a whole lot you can read into. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, you don't see very like specific decks until you get to like the higher levels. So, at lower levels, you have no idea.
No, you have no absolutely no idea because they have no idea.
Yeah.
What deck?
Yeah, exactly.
What deck have you been playing lately, Jocelyn?
Oh, I've been playing
deck.
a
She
lot.
plays her Hogger deck.
Yeah, the Hogger deck.
I wasn't aware
Have
of
you guys
it.
heard of this? It's pretty much Hogger.
Jocelyn is breaking the meta, dude. That's doing it.
So it's one card? What are the other 29 slots taken up with?
It doesn't even matter.
Doesn't matter, dude. It's all centered around Hogger, man.
There's not even other null cards that you could theme it with.
Nope. No, I've been playing actually Shaman. I have a Shaman and a
Everyone's
priest.
playing Shaman now?
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
Even me.
Okay.
I know. I gave up
I'm
on my
not.
hunter.
All right, Chanman's out there. He's doing it. Okay.
Shaman's the best,
and
man.
I so gravitate towards a control style. Like I just can't wrap my head around just like go for the face. It's not my play style. So yeah, control with the Shaman.
Yeah.
Were you inspired by our overload chat 2 weeks ago, or you just kind of felt like a change?
A little bit. I did feel like a change, but yeah, talking about all the overload and wanting to give it a shot. And I actually found, because again, I kind of gave in a couple weeks ago to the whole idea around net decking. And so I did find
No, Jocelyn, stay
Shaman
strong.
on the cheap. I know, I finally it's been like literally, 6 months? And I was like, no, don't do it. No. And then finally I was like, oh, F it. See, I caught myself, Garrett. You don't have to bleep me.
Well, I didn't believe you last
We
week,
don't.
and people
We
yelled
don't
at me.
believe you.
So
When you drop F-bombs on the show, Jocelyn, they live forever.
it's such a rare occurrence that you cuss, Jocelyn, that we're just gonna let that. We're gonna let it go. People
Yeah.
with their small children can just deal.
Oh, man.
Take that, small children.
Make sure
So,
you
anyway.
copy exactly what Jocelyn said, and make sure you tell your mother.
Oh,
That's what you
Oh,
should
man.
do.
I learned it on the Angry Chicken.
Yeah. That one girl, you know.
Nice.
Oh, I can't even blame it on Garrett. What were you talking about?
What
I don't
decks
know.
you're saying you were playing Shaman and whatnot.
Oh yeah, Shaman, yay. With totems.
Wonderful.
Totems are nice.
Jocelyn, do you want to take the next email?
Sure. This one comes from Richard. He says, "Hey dudes and dudette, long time listener, first time writer inner," which made me kind of giggle. So, way to go, Richard.
I hope that's the entire reason you added this email to the doc.
Completely.
Yeah,
I
the
didn't even
rest of the
read
email
past
doesn't
there.
matter.
I was just like, writer inner, done. So I've been increasing the amount of legendaries, currently having Jiraxis, Sylvanas, and Ysera, amongst other not-so-useful ones. Currently play a control lock similar to Dill's tourney deck, and is up to rank 14. So what legendary would you guys recommend next? Leroy or Rag/Help? Oh, here's
No-brainer.
from Ireland.
No-brainer.
Wait a minute.
Well-
He's from Ireland, and you didn't read it in an Irish accent.
No, I don't do accents. No,
You do a pretty good Canadian accent.
don't even.
It's not an accent. It's a different language, Gary. It's like it's Wookiee.
If you are gonna make the Wookiee comments again,
Okay,
then
that-
I'm hanging up.
That joke has gone on too long. You said
I think-
this was an easy answer there, Chris. What
I
Yeah,
think
go
it's
ahead,
an easy
Jen,
answer.
are you ready to
Yeah.
burst out with?
Yeah.
You're probably gonna say
I
the same
mean-
thing I'm gonna say.
Rag is.
I think it's
no-brainer.
Ragnaros. Yeah.
Yeah, Rag is like a no-brainer.
Yeah, you start with Rag. Basically, like the first legendary you make probably should just be Ragnaros.
He fits
just
so
kinda
well
fits
into,
in
like,
so many
every
things.
deck.
Yeah.
So I think Garrett and I are kind of on the same page here, where I think it really depends on what you want to play. I mean, he did mention he plays a lot and he has Jiraxis, but I mean, would there be any other specific Warlock cards maybe that he should be looking at, or
I mean,
like
In this specific scenario where he's talking about legendaries, I mean, he has Jiraxis. That's the only legendary class-specific one anyway. And
well, yes, yeah, but
I don't
something
feel like
that might go with a control lock type deck that
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
isn't Rag.
that's where I
Well,
feel
so-
like
Leroy better against with the hand lock, honestly. But
Yeah.
who knows if you're going to be playing lock tomorrow? And
Yeah.
Rag is more, I think, versatile in that regard.
yeah, I've seen Leroy. He's a good finisher in a lot of decks, though. I mean, we've seen him in Shaman decks and Rogue decks and even Hunter decks that don't have King Crush or whatever. But
To me, he's better than King Crush.
He's
Like,
better than King Crush. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just four mana, boom, 6 damage. But yeah, I mean, it's just to me, it's like you start with Rag. If you already have Jiraxis, you're good to go. If you already have Sylvanas, you're good to go. And then probably after that, maybe at this point, it would be Nat Pagal or Tinkmaster until those get changed, and then Cairn. I think those are going to be like the.
Oh, good one.
I feel like at this
those are going to be the ones that are going to be really popular.
I
for a
realize
long time.
we've been hating on them all episode, but I feel like at this point right now, I would go with Pagal or Tinkmaster over Sylvanas.
Yeah,
Ooh.
Sylvanas is not in a lot of my decks anymore.
I realize I've been like
Listen
writing
to
love
that,
letters
thing.
to her over
Yeah.
the past month.
I feel
of
like we need to
episodes,
like
but
rewind about 4 or 5 episodes to where you guys were just like Sylvanas all the time.
yeah,
that was
Yeah,
when
they
she was
nerfed
5
it.
mana.
Yeah, then they nerfed her.
Well, they nerfed it a little bit, and Tickmaster's just everywhere now, and
Yeah.
Sylvanas is pretty much negated by Tickmaster.
So
And
everybody who took my advice and dusted their Sylvanas can now go craft
Ooh.
Tinkmaster. So
Jocelyn
boom.
wins.
That's right.
If they
That's
took your
right.
advice and crafted Sylvanas and just sat on that much dust, they're crazy people.
Yeah, they probably already have something at this point.
They screwed up my favorite combo, which was Brawl Sylvanas. I
Oh,
was
dude,
sad
so
after
good,
that.
right? Yeah, you
That
can
was
still
like my favorite.
You can still play Sylvanas
Coin.
Void Terror. Sylvanas
oh,
Void
yeah, you can
Terror
still
in,
do
it,
that.
in a
There's
Warlock
really-
deck, but I don't really see it. But it's still there. Yeah, they took away that. They took away Sylvanas, like Starfall, your own Sylvanas. They took like all of that stuff. Can't be done anymore.
But you still can't execute your own.
Yeah, you can't execute your own Sylvanas. Too. That's
Would
also
you
true.
would you guys have preferred she had become like a 4/4 for 5 instead of a 5/5 for 6?
4/4 for 5 would have been a buff, dude. Because then
Yeah,
it's
that would have
easy
been
to
a
kill her.
buff, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And she
that's-
dies
so.
because she lives to die, and then take your thing, you know.
I mean, she lives for a
honest.
3-for-1 essentially,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
a 2 for just bad.
I mean, the way that card is designed is weird because if you nerf her, you buff her. If you know, this was the only real way to, I think, effectively nerf Sylvanas.
It just took so many fun and thoughtful combinations off the table that it makes me pretty sad.
One thing it did though is it took away all the like figuring out how Sylvanas versus Sylvanas works, which is like constant topic of conversation.
It's never worked the way it's supposed to work. So,
yeah,
like
you guys had Dodds on your show?
Yeah, we had Dodds, and Dodds explained exactly how
it was supposed to work. It does not work that way at all.
I know.
It's like totally random.
I should have called him on that, honestly. But I was just like, there you go, guys.
Yeah,
that's how it works. But Chanman, it doesn't work like that.
It's your fault, Chanman.
Why don't you aggressively push the conversation on your guests like they're a
That's
politician?
because you know how it is, man. You only have like 45 minutes of these guys.
No, I absolutely know how it is, and that's why I get so incredibly.
No, Ben Brode was
annoyed
on
by
this
those.
show and told us that he holy wrath something and drew Molten Giant and it did 0. And I was like, wait.
We laughed at it and we're like, oh, that's so cool. And then right after the show, we're like, wait, that makes no goddamn sense.
I was like, there's no way that works. That's 20 damage. It does 20 damage.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter what damage you were at.
We're having a good time. You're not even thinking about it. You just miss that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. People called us out on it though too.
Dills, you want to take the third and final email for today's show?
Sure. This is what? This is from Poor Loser Battle Tag Abuse. What? Oh, that's just the. Oh, okay, never mind.
Oh, dude, you have to read my show notes before you come.
You are the Ron Burgundy of podcast note readers.
Too much work, man. Too much work to read all this stuff before I get here. You understand? I have other things I gotta do, like stream until 8 in the morning. All right, hey gang. I had a real interesting encounter this week during a match with a warlock. While I played a version of the Secrets Hunter deck, we both had gotten each other relatively low on health. He had life tapped down to 8. I had 2. He had lethal on board, but I top decked Ragnaros, played him, and got the RNG for the win. A few seconds later, oh, okay, I know what's going on here. A few seconds later, I get a friend request from the guy. I have accepted this kind of thing before, and it has always been positive. Great game, good deck.
Oh wow, you lucky.
Yeah, I've never had the positive one. So anyway, F you, screw you, and your no skill RNG. I wish I had drawn my Ragnaros. F you, followed by an immediate unfriending. That's actually pretty tame, dude. I've seen much worse.
I've had people call my mother into question many times.
Yeah.
So
bring your mom.
Okay, so I'm just gonna jump in here because I have never had a bad experience when I have friended somebody, because like I'm really curious to know what your games were like before you accepted these random friend requests, because if I've had a like really bad experience actually in the game, like whether somebody's trying to, timed out a couple turns or, like emoting too much or, any of these kind of things, I don't friend them. So do you guys just friend everyone? Like, how is this happening?
I don't, no. I only actually did it once. I accepted the friend request one time. And it was, some dude I just beaten down pretty decisively. And I just kind of wanted to see what he was going to say. And he didn't say anything. I was so let down.
Since I'm sick of bringing up StarCraft, Chris, would you like to regale everyone with the stories of how it is in StarCraft, where you could just talk to one another?
StarCraft is different.
Yes.
There's no game.
StarCraft, obviously. I mean, you can just type whatever the heck you want to your opponent, but but with StarCraft, I have to say, even they could do that as long as you respond like in a very benign way, like it ends pretty quickly. They just leave. No big deal.
Right.
The times I've done it in Hearthstone, it's actually been pretty good games. And like in this one particular one, I was playing my warrior, and he like interpreted it as an OTK warrior when it was like a completely opposite like warrior deck. It's a control deck, crazy. And then so I like accepted it, and he was just like, I said like GG. Like the first thing I said was GG, and he's like, oh yeah, I guess. I'm sure you played that deck completely wrong. It's the Alex Shaw's OTK deck, right? I'm like, no, it's not that deck. And he's like, oh, okay, well, I effing hate people that just play Hearthstone all day.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Like, okay, I don't play Hearthstone all day either, so.
All right, man.
What?
Good one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But
really
he knows
told
you,
you.
man. He knows
yeah,
you.
it's just like, okay, little X button right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And see you later.
I mean, people do this shit. They do it in real life too. I mean, I think I've talked about this on the show when I go to Magic tournaments. You get that one guy that you beat him, and he sits there and he goes through his deck until he finds like, oh, if I had pulled this man, I would have won. Yes, if you cheated, you would have won. You know, congratulations. If you didn't have to play by the rules of the game, you would have won.
See, what all these people need to realize who are sending these friend requests out and then, you know,
Being a dick.
calling you like racial, yeah, like just, I think it's some really terrible things people say. What they need to do is just get a stream, because when you're on your stream, you could just go off, man, and people seem to love it. And then you don't actually have to say it to their face. People in my
It's a
stream,
one-sided discussion.
people in my stream have heard me have many a rant about my love of the Murlocs, and their place in Hearthstone, and how they just belong here. And everyone who plays them is really smart. But I don't need to friend somebody to tell them all that. You know, it's fine.
Right. I do this too, but I like do it to the wall or to the stream. I don't feel the need to actually tell this person, you skill this piece of shit. No, I don't do that.
Yeah.
That's way too much effort to go to. Like,
Yeah. All I need to tell them is well met and well played. There you go. That's it.
There
That's all
you
I need
go.
to say.
absolutely. I would like a
Most
GG.
don't even
yeah.
say that anymore. I'm finding that a lot. Although,
Oh.
again, I play at lower levels than you guys, but I think it was when it went to open beta. It's just like nobody greets you anymore. And then I go greetings, and then they're just like, nothing. Like,
You know,
do you even know
Jocelyn,
how
I'm
to
guilty.
emote?
Grinding, screw you. I don't have time for
Yeah.
for these
Jocelyn,
emotes.
I'm guilty of this. People will like say greetings to me, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever.
Oh, Dills.
They say
no.
greetings, and I'm like, and if they say it again, squelch.
But maybe
I
they
don't
thought
care.
it didn't go through with
Sorry.
beta. Oh, you're the mean guy.
I got
Oh,
the
my.
well played spammer the other night. I haven't seen one of those in a long
Oh yeah.
time.
Oh, yeah, that's been a
really
while.
pretty fun.
Yep.
I get those all the time where I'm just like, is this sarcastic now? Like you said, well played after every turn. This has to be sarcastic, right?
The worst are the guys that literally wait their full entire turn on purpose every
Oh,
single
God.
turn.
Yeah.
Like literally until
We have a lot of emails about those.
Oh gosh, I
Yep.
hate those.
Yeah,
It's I don't like. Are they having fun? I don't understand. Like,
I know they're wasting their time as much as I am. You know what I do is like I'll go to the bathroom, I'll make my move, then I'll go like make myself a sandwich, and I'll come back and I'll make my move, and then I'll go get a drink. So he's doing nothing to me, man. I can just do a lot more things in between, or I'm doing some work on the other
Yeah.
side here.
you're getting things
So-
done, man. Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm micromanaging.
He's sitting there like,
You're just
you know,
wasting
just
your time, buddy.
doing this the whole time. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna get this guy. Oh man,
I'm gonna
have
get him to
wait.
quit. I'm gonna get him to quit.
I'm
never
micromanaging
quit
the hell
either,
out of my
so get
farm
used
in
to it.
between those weights. That's what I'm doing. I need 3
Exactly.
carrots. I need 3 carrots every time.
It's principle, man. Principle.
Well, there you go.
Awesome.
Hopefully, Ross, that'll never happen to you again. Don't accept them. Just
Don't
forget
accept
Yeah.
them.
it. You
Yeah.
don't know
Don't
him. Just
accept
forget
them.
Yeah.
No good can come from it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just red X. The red X is your friend.
Mhm.
So no need to speak to those people if you don't want to. But yeah, it's like our rule in the chat room. Just don't be a dick. Don't be a dick, people. There's no need to.
Yeah,
Exactly.
sometimes I feel like being a dick though.
It's okay, Dills. We know you. So
Yeah.
you can totally be a dick. We expect it.
Thank you,
The-
guys.
The flavor text on your card on the overlay next week will change. Just so you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes feels like being a dick.
Dick Gregory, man.
+1 dick power.
Oh, well, I do have that. Yeah.
There's a reason I said only +1. Anyways, I think on that note, we'll start wrapping up the show. Chris, Chanman, thank you so much for joining us. Why don't you tell all the fine people where they can find and follow you before we end today's episode?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, guys. Thanks for having me on. It was,
Absolutely.
again, it's great getting a chance to talk some Hearthstone with you guys because I don't get a chance to really do it outside of my own shows. So it's really, really cool. You can find my shows. I do, God, how many shows do I do now? Like 4 shows each week on twitch.tv/ChanmanV. Tomorrow's Unfiltered, Wednesday Night Sprites, Thursday's Value Town, and then Friday is it's Deck Wars. Actually, Deck Wars is on twitch.tv/machinima. And you can find all the VODs on youtube.com/ChanmanV. You can follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/ChanmanV for any news and updates on the shows. And I think that's it.
Very cool. Thanks
What
again.
is the V, by the way? I know your last
The
name
V?
is Chan. Yeah. Where'd the V come
Uh,
from?
The V is actually a 5, but everybody
I was
calls
gonna
it
say you
V.
said
So it's turned into
Chanman
ChanmanV
5.
over the years.
All right, so
it's not
Chanman's 1, 2, 3,
anymore.
and 4.
Was it-
So yeah, the story is that in Warcraft
exists.
2, which I was like, playing a lot of back in the day, and I was kind of playing competitively in these leagues and stuff. There were like 4 other Chanmans over time, and people would just get me confused with them, and finally I just I'll just throw up the V in the front. I mean, in the back, not the front.
I was going to ask if you were Chris Chan the 5th, because that'd be a long line of Chris Chans.
No, that'd be weird.
It's better than Junior, if you ask me. I'd rather have the.
Yeah.
I'd rather have the
no
Roman
one knows
numeral.
about Chanman 1. We all just know about Chanman 5. So
That's
good
not
job,
true.
man.
Everybody always. I still get this question if I'm
Oh,
a
really?
Chanman. That's a type racer.
Oh,
Type
yeah?
racer Chanman still. I don't know. I still get that question all the time.
Type racer
Like,
Chanman.
no,
huh?
I can't type. There's a Chanman that's a type racer that types
Legendary
like
type racer.
300 words per minute or
What?
something. It's like
Wow.
crazy. Yeah, it's like something crazy like that.
I gotta look into this.
That's
Yeah.
nuts. Oh, that's great. Thanks to all of you who left us 5-star reviews in the iTunes store. It really helps us out. From the U.S. store this week, thanks to Unspeakable Elvis for the review and the awesome name, Black Entropy, Crash, and Gax78. Jocelyn, do we have any people we want to thank from Canada?
No, because I totally failed this week.
No, okay, that's
Sorry,
fine.
Canada.
No, it's totally fine.
Damn it. Well, wait, we gotta look up Brazil. Oh, I totally told somebody I was gonna look it up, and now I don't have it. I had it
Oh,
too.
yay, I wasn't the only one that failed. All right,
I
nice.
failed. Shout out to Brazil.
We
Sorry, I gotta look it up and find it earlier. I have it on my work computer. I have to switch the whole stuff.
long time ago, we used to pick just like a random region on the iTunes store on StarCast to thank people from, and then we started hitting countries that were in languages we couldn't read.
Yeah.
So we stopped doing it.
Nice.
And then you realize at some
Nice.
point, like, they weren't saying nice things, but you just had no idea. And then,
Yeah, good stuff. As always, The Angry Chicken is a production of amove.tv and the Frog Pants Studios. You can see more about this and all of the other amove shows like StarCast or Jocelyn's The Gamer's Inn over at amove.tv. Make sure to check out all of the other shows on frogpants.com as well. Our email is tacpodcast@gmail.com, and we have a forum over at forum.amove.tv. We record the show live every Monday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on twitch.tv/amovetv. So podcast listeners, come on out, join the chat room. It's a good time. Our mobile live stream is provided by Alpha Geek Radio, and you can get that on your mobile device at mobile.alphageekradio.com, and we thank them for that. Our Twitter is at TAC Podcast. I can be found at Garrett Art. Dills is at Willie Dills, and Jocelyn is at GIS Gamer. Big thanks to Brian Griffith, the musician responsible for our intro music. He can be found at briangriffithmusic.com. And he apparently got a shout-out in the New York Times this week, so just congrats to him
Wow.
Nice.
for his crazy tonal music that he does that I totally don't understand, but he's very, very good at it.
hey, man, it's deep stuff, man.
Yeah.
You know, you're just not taking enough drugs when you listen to it. That's the problem.
And then my final personal pimp, please check out nomoonart.com for my graphic design portfolio. I'm a graphic designer in my day job, so go check that out. Dills, where can people find you?
Well, first of all, I found the Brazil one. It's from Zico. Dude, Zico's my buddy. All right. Are all of our 5-star reviews from, like, my buddies? Is that what's happening?
Probably. They're just making new accounts all over the world.
Oh, I see it. Yeah, I see how it is.
We're fixing the system.
He's a really good rogue in World of Warcraft, and he lives in Brazil. AIE-er. I think, well, he used to be. I don't know if he still is, but
Who isn't an AIE at this point?
I don't know. Yeah, thank you for the 5-star review, Zico. All right. Anyway, back to business. What were we talking about? Oh, I'm on
Where
the
can
instance.
people find you?
Pimp yourself
I'm on the
shamelessly.
instance. Yeah, I'm on the instance. You can find me there if you look
Is that
for
it?
Yep.
That's it. Nothing else. You don't have a baseball podcast that's coming
Oh
back
yeah, I have a
soon?
baseball podcast coming back. Boom. Talk about the Giants and how much better we are than the Dodgers.
And your baseball podcast is called?
Oh, it's called
Goodness.
Torturecast.
God, Bill.
Wow.
It's normally not this bad.
You're not allowed to stay up till 8 a.m. the night before the show
No.
anymore. I'm putting down the law.
You don't own me.
Do you stream anywhere, Dills?
Oh, I stream on Twitch sometimes too. You can find me there.
Jocelyn, save us. Where can people find you?
People can find me in everything I do at amove.tv. As Garrett already mentioned, I do the Gamers In every Friday night. That's at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I also, those of you who are watching live have noticed I have a new webcam. So I'm going to be streaming again, and that is twitch.tv/GISgamer.
You can also find her flaking on me to play random decks.
That
Jocelyn.
was unintentional. It
Just
was
so you can
Valentine's
play
Day.
Wild
There were more
Star?
plans than I knew. I thought I had dinner
Valentine's
plans, and
Day.
then I had more than that. And so it wasn't my fault because
They don't
Valentine's.
have Valentine's Day in Canada. What are you talking about?
She had to go play
Hallmark
Wild Star
invented
because she was so
Valentine's Day.
disappointed in Elder Scrolls Online.
Hey,
Hey, don't
you
talk
can leave
about that.
Elder Scrolls alone.
Don't talk about that. They might be coming for you.
The NDA's been lifted. I can talk about how much I didn't like it as much as I want.
And I can talk about how much I loved it. So there.
Ooh, okay.
Before we leave, please,
Fight!
whether you love ESO or you hate it, our sponsors, doghousesystems.com, their rigs will run it at a beautiful, beautiful frame rate with all the shinies turned up to high. Go over to doghousesystems.com, and if you decide you need a new gaming rig, use our code TAC, and you'll get double memory for free and directly support the show, the process. So we thank them for their support. We thank you guys for listening. Chanman, again, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you all next week for episode 20 of The Angry Chicken. Job's done.
Job's done.
Yes.
We need a job's done from Chanman.
What?
We need a job's done from Chanman.
Oh, we need a
job's
Chanman
done.
job. There you go.
Yes.
Nice.
There you
Garrett, Stills, he talked over him.
What? My
Is that
bad.
the ritual?
We always
Yeah,
sign
no.
off with jobs done, yeah.
Ah, nice.
Hey man, thanks for being on the show. That was fun.
That was
Yeah, it was fun,
amazing.
man. It's good.
that was
My
quite
headset was driving me
loose.
crazy. Though. I don't know. It's
Oh, really?
bothering me tonight. I don't know. I don't
That's
know
a
why.
massive
I was like sitting there
headset.
going like this the whole freaking night, man. It's like
Oh,
So
yeah, it was really fun to
looking
finally
forward
talk
to
to
the
you.
next Deck Wars and definitely Value Town, man. And again, thank you. I'm sorry that I have to just bail right now. So
yeah, I do too. Actually, I gotta get
I'm
going.
gonna
But
get the hell out of here. But again, thank you. And chat room, thank you guys so
And there he goes. He just like Scott
Peace.
Johnson
Yeah,
himself.
no, he
Peace
meant
out.
it.
He really did
Peace
mean it.
out.
Yeah, thanks
Like,
again, Chris.
12:30,
It was,
done.
it was awesome to finally get to actually like talk to you.
Yeah, we've never talked before.
No.
Really?
No, I cannot believe
thought-
I haven't had you on StarCast. We've had so many.
I guess I haven't been on Starcast. I thought for some reason I'd been on Starcast before in the past, but
It seems really strange. Yeah, we should
Yeah,
rectify
but
that
anyways.
at some point.
yeah. Sure. That'd be fun too.
Yeah, it'd be a good time. So, all right, man. Well, you have a good night. Thanks again for coming on.
Yeah, thanks
All right,
a lot.
thanks. Yeah, man, keep doing what you're doing. Good stuff.
Likewise.
Definitely. All right, later.
See you.
See ya.
Bye, chat room. I don't know what that voice.